the Black Death. Even the name sends shivers down our spines. This devastating plague swept across Europe in the 14th century, leaving an unforgettable mark on history. Imagine a world where death lurked around every corner, where fear was as constant as the rising sun. The Black Death wasn't just a disease, it was a cataclysmic event. It reshaped societies, economies, and even the very beliefs of medieval Europe. Millions perished, leaving behind a world forever changed. This essay delves into the heart of this dark chapter, exploring the plague's origins, its devastating impact, and the remarkable resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable suffering. Join us as we journey back to a time of fear and despair, but also of courage, resilience, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The Black Death, a terrifying plague, emerged far from the shores of Europe. Its birthplace was Asia, likely in Central Asia, where it smoldered among rodent populations. These rodents, often rats, carried fleas infected with a deadly bacterium called
trade routes, bustling with merchants and their goods, became unwitting highways for the plague. As ships laden with spices and silk sailed west, they unknowingly carried stowaway rats. These infected rats and their fleas would bring the Black Death to Europe's doorstep. The unsuspecting medieval world had no idea of the danger lurking within these ships. The arrival of these vessels, usually a sign of prosperity and exotic goods, would soon spell disaster. Little did they know, a silent invader was about to unleash chaos upon their world.
The Black Death's journey to Europe was a stealthy one. It arrived in 1347, carried by those unsuspecting rat passengers on Torgovik ships arriving at European ports. The bustling port of Kaffa in Crimea was one of the first to fall victim. From Kaffa, the plague embarked on a terrifying march across the continent. It spread rapidly, aided by overcrowded cities, poor sanitation, and a lack of understanding about its causes. Fleas jumped from rats to humans, transmitting the deadly bacterium with their bites. People lived in close quarters, often sharing homes with animals, which only hastened the plague's spread. News traveled slowly in those days, and by the time people realized the danger, it was often too late. The Black Death was a silent, invisible enemy that struck swiftly and mercilessly. Within a few short years, the Black Death had reached every corner of Europe. From the bustling cities of Italy to the rural villages of England, the plague spared no one. Its deadly reach extended far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on the medieval world. The Black Death was a terrifying disease, and its symptoms were as gruesome as they were swift. One of the most recognizable signs was the appearance of buboes, large, painful swellings in the groin, neck, or armpits. These buboes, filled with pus and blood, gave the plague its name, the bubonic plague. But the horror didn't end there. The plague attacked the body with a vengeance. Victims experienced high fever, chills, headache, and muscle pain. As the disease progressed, it brought vomiting, diarrhea, and extreme weakness. The infected suffered unimaginable pain and misery, their bodies ravaged from within. Perhaps the most terrifying aspect was the speed with which it claimed its victims. Many died within days of showing the first symptoms. The Black Death was a swift and merciless killer, leaving a trail of fear and despair in its wake. Section 5. Death's Embrace. The human cost of the Black Death. The Black Death's impact on Europe was nothing short of catastrophic. Historians estimate that it wiped out between 1/3 and 2/3 of the continent's population.
Imagine entire villages reduced to ghost towns, fields left untended, and cities echoing with the silence of the dead. The sheer scale of death was staggering.
Families were decimated, communities torn apart, and the social fabric of Europe irrevocably altered. The stench of death permeated the air, a constant reminder of the invisible enemy stalking the land.
Mass graves became a common sight, a chilling testament to the overwhelming number of dead. The living were overwhelmed by the task of burying the dead, their lives forever marked by the trauma of loss and the constant fear of succumbing to the plague themselves.
Section 6. A world turned upside down, social upheaval. The Black Death's impact extended far beyond its death toll. It ripped through the very fabric of society, leaving chaos and upheaval in its wake.
The established social order, with its rigid hierarchies, crumbled under the weight of the plague. With so many dead, labor became scarce.
Peasants, once bound to the land, found themselves with more bargaining power. They demanded better wages and working conditions, challenging the authority of their feudal lords.
The plague also fueled social unrest and rebellion. People, desperate and disillusioned, questioned the existing order. Some blamed authorities for failing to protect them, while others sought scapegoats, often targeting marginalized groups like Jews.
The Black Death became a catalyst for social change, albeit through devastating means. It shattered the old order, leaving a void that would eventually be filled by new power structures and social dynamics. The Black Death served as a stark reminder of the fragility of economic systems and the interconnectedness of human societies. The plague's economic impact was long-lasting. It took decades for Europe to recover from the devastation. The prices of food and other essential goods soared, making it difficult for many to survive. The once thriving markets of medieval Europe fell silent, replaced by fear and uncertainty. With so many merchants and sailors dead, ships lay idle in harbors, and goods stopped flowing. The shortage of labor caused wages to rise, but it also led to inflation. Section 7. Crumbling foundations, economic collapse. The Black Death didn't just claim lives, it shattered economies. Trade, the lifeblood of medieval Europe, ground to a halt. Section 8. Fighting a ghost, medieval responses to the plague. Faced with an invisible enemy, medieval people struggled to understand and combat the Black Death. Lacking scientific knowledge, they turned to a mixture of religious fervor, superstition, and rudimentary medical practices.
Many believed the plague was God's punishment for their sins. They flocked to churches, prayed for forgiveness, and participated in religious processions, hoping to appease God's wrath. Others sought scapegoats, blaming Jews, foreigners, or even witches for the plague's devastation. Physicians, ill-equipped to deal with the plague, resorted to bloodletting, purging, and other ineffective treatments. The iconic plague doctor mask, with its beak-like nose filled with aromatic herbs, reflected the era's limited understanding of the disease.
Section 9. Echoes of the plague, long-term effects on Europe. The Black Death's shadow stretched far beyond the 14th century. It left an enduring legacy on Europe, shaping its art, culture, religion, and even its genetics. The trauma of the plague found expression in art and literature, often depicted as a grim reaper or a force of divine retribution. The Church, once an unchallenged authority, faced criticism for its failure to prevent or stop the plague. This questioning of religious dogma contributed to the rise of new religious ideas and movements, ultimately paving the way for the Reformation. The plague also had profound demographic consequences. The massive loss of life led to labor shortages, which in turn spurred technological innovation. The need for more efficient farming methods, for example, contributed to the development of new agricultural technologies. Section 10. The enduring human spirit. Lessons from the Black Death. The Black Death was one of the darkest chapters in human history. Yet amidst the death and despair, the human spirit endured. People continued to live, love, and rebuild their shattered world. The plague fostered a newfound appreciation for life's fragility. It also highlighted the importance of community, compassion, and the interconnectedness of humanity. In the face of unimaginable suffering, people showed extraordinary resilience, courage, and a determination to survive. The Black Death reminds us of the power of the human spirit to adapt, overcome, and rebuild. It teaches us the importance of resilience, the value of scientific understanding, and the need for compassion in the face of adversity. Section 11. Remembering the Black Death. A legacy of resilience. The Black Death may be a distant echo from the past, but its story still resonates today. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating power of disease and the importance of public health measures. As we grapple with modern-day health challenges, the Black Death offers valuable lessons about the need for scientific research, global cooperation, and a compassionate response to those affected by disease. It reminds us that we are all connected and that our collective well-being depends on our ability to work together. The Black Death also reminds us of the enduring strength of the human spirit. Despite the immense suffering, people found ways to cope, adapt, and eventually rebuild. Their story is a testament to the indomitable nature of hope and the enduring belief in a brighter future, even in the darkest of times.